Prostitution ring. That's what brought us here today to talk about this topic. When we bought the GT3, we've heard some rumors. People have been talking that we can afford the GT3 and everything because we run a prostitution ring.
I mean, if we could only afford the GT3 while running a prostitution ring, we would probably be very bad at our jobs, right?
True, correct.
Because if that was true, we would probably buy like a new GT3 RS or something like that. So
Carrera GT.
Carrera GT, oh yeah.
Yeah, so if you see us driving a Carrera GT in the near future.
No.
So let's clarify once and for all how we can afford to drive a good car, live in a beautiful home. We travel a lot, you spend money on track days.
I do. Guilty.
What actually makes us different though is that we have earned all of this ourselves. We don't come from rich families, we don't have any rich uncles, at least not that we know of.
If we do, they're awfully quiet.
They're awfully quiet, come on man. And yeah, we want to record this video to show you that you can do all of this too, if you want.
It's just a matter of smart work and
priorities. So
yeah.
Let's talk about our story. Let's start with the elementary school, or actually high school.
You're going way back, huh?
I'm going way back because that's the time when I actually started working for money, not running a prostitution ring, but I was actually aspiring to become a journalist, and I started working at 15 years old, which is just the time as I was entering high school. And you were not working in high school, right?
I was doing like an odd job here and there, but nothing special.
But you were a good student.
Yeah, I was like almost straight A student, so yay!
I wasn't.
Nerd.
You were. I was
a
yeah,
nerd.
You were a nerd. I actually wasn't. I wasn't really that good in school. I was getting okay grades, but at 15 years old, I was already working as a journalist for a local newspaper, local radio station, and yeah, just started to earn money, and it felt pretty fucking good.
I'm trying to remember what I spent my money on back then, but it was probably stupid things.
Yeah,
similar to now.
For me, I think it was mostly clothes, and then in high school, I bought my first computer, my first laptop with that money.
So I was really into music back then, so it was probably like a guitar or an amp or something.
Yeah, not cars yet.
Not cars.
High school, finished. Let's go into college.
So in college I studied computer science, and I found a job at a local company doing some programming work. I still remember, I think I was paid like 10 bucks an hour, which was pretty damn good at the time.
That was
yeah
nice.
Yeah. So I know I was like earning 500 bucks a month because obviously I had to study because I was almost a straight A student, so didn't have as much time as I wanted, but yeah, I still made some money here and there.
Yeah.
So that was it. What about you?
Yeah, I actually studied, I think it's called like media communications,
Okay.
where like you could be either a journalist or I don't know what, like a designer.
Designer.
Yeah, we learned about copywriting, but all of this time as I was studying, I was also doing a lot of work. So
What kind of work?
I was trying to, again, actually still be a journalist. So I was working at a TV station.
Was that paid work?
Paid work,
Okay.
yes. TV station, radio station, newspapers. I was a chief editor of our magazine.
Wow.
At our college.
That's how I met you, right?
That's how you met me, actually. And now let's go into, us meeting for the first time. We're not going to go into that story. If you're interested in hearing about all the juicy details,
Oh yeah.
let us know in the comments below, and we can record like a separate video for that. But we actually met in a club, that's about it. But very early on, we started talking about cars, actually.
Yeah.
And as soon as we started dating, there was a promise. So I still remember the story. You're going to tell like the second part, but I still remember the story. We started talking, and you were like, Moitza, what do you want to do by the age of 30, I think? And I was like, I want to conquer the world. Yeah, and then I promised you to buy you something by the age of 30.
And that was a Ferrari, right?
Yeah. So you told, well, yeah, we decided on the Ferrari. We wanted to have a Ferrari by the age of 30.
Yeah,
and we were, to put everything in context, we were about, I think, 21. Yeah, 21 years old.
So back then, obviously, I didn't know what a good car is. And that's why I said a Ferrari. When in fact, I should be saying a Porsche.
Yeah, but tell people what you were driving back then. And
So
that's how you charmed me, actually.
Oh yeah, so back then I was driving a Peugeot 206 RC, or I think in the UK they call it a GTI 180. So it's a French car, it's a hot hatch, and that's about it.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was. It was a hot hatch.
Yeah.
Like the proper hot hatch, not the hot hatches of nowadays. But let's not get into the...
And that was your, not the first car,
Second
but
car.
second car.
Actually, the first car that I actually bought for myself, because the very first car I got was a Nissan that I kind of got from my mom. Drove that for a bit, and then because of my job as a programmer, I was able to afford the hot hatch that I eventually drove.
So yeah, we already, back then, you and I, we started to kind of understand the context. Like, you work hard, wow, you can buy nice things that you want.
So a short story of how I actually bought the Peugeot. It's kind of similar to how we do things now. So I had a few €1,000 saved up from my work, and I went and checked out the 206 with a couple of friends. I immediately fell in love, gave the deposit, went back home, and I actually didn't have all the money for the car. So I had to sell the Nissan, and my mom was kind enough to like just say, whatever you sell it for, it's yours, it's kind of my gift to you. And I was like, okay, good. And I actually sold the Nissan on the very same day that I bought the 206. So I think it was like I sold the car in the morning and then went home and asked my dad to drive me to Ljubljana to pick up the new car. So
we were YOLOing back then.
Yeah.
Actually, you were YOLOing back then.
I was still YOLOing
you're
now.
You're the same, yeah. So to get back on our story.
Sorry.
We actually moved in together fairly quickly. Do not take this as a recommendation.
Why not? It was great. What you talking about?
It was great, but maybe it wouldn't be great for everyone. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's true.
Anyway, we moved in together very quickly. My mom hated him, loves him now, but because she hated him, she decided that she will not pay and contribute to my rent. I need to pay for everything. Like, again, we were 21 years old, so I needed to get a job.
I actually think that was conditioned with another aspect of your student life.
Okay.
Didn't your mom say like you can drop out of school and then I won't pay for your rent anymore?
Maybe.
I think that was it.
So
it wasn't like she hated me and she said she's not
Yeah,
gonna pay
I
for
think it
rent.
was a combination of everything. I
Yeah.
wasn't in good terms with my mom back then.
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of things happened. We moved in together. I dropped out of college because I hated it. And I had to get a job, and by that time I was, I think, kind of already working at an advertising agency. But then, after a year and a half of working there, I actually hated the job.
Yeah.
And they hated me. So I got fired from the job. And I think meanwhile you graduated from college. And
Because I'm a nerd.
because you're a nerd. And you were already working, so you had a job, but you also, I think as soon as I got fired, I established my own company called Super Spicy Media, long story, but I saw some opportunities at the agency and I decided to start working with social media and to start working with clients. And back then, I was struggling to put together my own company. You were struggling to find a good job that you would like.
Yeah, I was switching jobs pretty frequently. I think
it was like every 6 months.
Yeah, I think the most I've stayed at a company, apart from ConvertKit where I work now, was probably like 8 to 10 months.
I think it was less than that.
Yeah, probably
actually.
less. Yeah,
I think it was less than
probably.
that. So then, immediately after you switching jobs, I was just trying to figure out this whole company thing, how to run my own company. We actually went completely broke.
Yep.
We were actually so broke that we had to cancel our gym membership.
Yeah.
And we had to borrow money for food because we didn't have any money.
I still remember it was Christmas and we went to pick up some food from the grocery store, and I think we bought like, I don't know, stuff for 60 or 80 euros, and we only had like 50 euros on our bank account, so we had to put some stuff back. And
that was a tough Christmas.
Yeah, and we had to borrow some money from my mom because otherwise we weren't able to pay for next month's rent.
Yeah, we did later pay her back.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, our situation was pretty tough, but no matter the tough situation that we were in, we still had this dream. So like, you wanted to work for a good company, find a good job, and be a part of a great team and a great story. And yeah, I still wanted to run a successful company and wanted to work with international clients. We never wanted to, in case any of you don't know us, we are from Slovenia, but we never wanted to professionally stay within our borders. We always wanted to work with international clients, international companies, because Slovenia, I don't know, it was just too small for us, I think.
Yeah.
We were observing other people's stories, just kind of getting friends from the United States and seeing like the opportunities there. So we decided, you know, not to stay in Slovenia.
Yeah, and I mean, even when we were broke, I guess we still had an option to move back into our parents' house, my parents' house probably. But we decided, no, we're just gonna push through the situation and try to find a solution and, you know, just get back on
track.
Get back on track, yeah.
Following our dreams.
Yeah.
Also, not to forget to mention, like, we always had a dream of owning a couple of fast cars.
Yeah.
And
especially a Ferrari.
And also living in a beautiful home. We kind of continued our dream. So we forgot to mention that all this time we were actually living in Maribor, which is the second biggest city in Slovenia, because we both studied there. While living in Maribor, we were actually living, forgot to mention that, in a tiny, tiny apartment.
Yeah.
I think it was like 35 square meters.
Yeah, so it was like 1/5 of the current house we are living in.
Yes.
So it was really small.
It was very small, but we were both working from home.
Yeah, and,
at that time.
And we already had Jackie with us.
Yeah.
So it was like,
yeah.
super tiny.
So then you actually started kind of moving up the ladder, working with first international companies.
Okay. No. So like you said, I always wanted to work for an international company, and it was really hard because most of the people in foreign countries, especially the United States or United Kingdom, see Slovenia as like a, I don't know, like a
Eastern European country.
Like cheap workforce. Yeah, cheap workforce. So it was hard to find someone that can see through that and actually hire you for your talent and not because you're seen as cheap workforce. But I did actually manage to find a few companies that gave me a chance, and I was able to get some experience with working remotely for foreign companies. I also worked for like a company from the UK, I worked for a company from Silicon Valley, and I kind of got into the zone of working through different time zones and scheduling stuff, being on meetings at like 11 p.m., which was...
I still remember that.
Yeah, it was fine at the time. I probably couldn't do it on a regular basis now, just because we have a bit more
structured day.
Structured
but I
day.
still remember you like sometimes working up to 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning. Or I don't know, having a problem to solve. And I remember like waking up in the morning and you were still working.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really easy.
No.
Also, fun fact, you almost went to work for Facebook.
I did.
Do you remember? Like you were actually at an interview, and I think you were even invited to come live in San Francisco?
San Francisco.
San Francisco, worked for Facebook, declined their offer.
Thank God.
while we were doing that, I was also trying to get international contacts, some international work, and right at that time,
And you spoke at a lot of conferences.
I started to speak at a lot of conferences in the United States. So my first conference was actually W Freelancing Conference in Virginia, and that was a really, really good starting point for me.
Fun fact,
Yeah?
Norfolk, Virginia was the first city.
That we visited in the United
Visited.
States. Yeah,
So-
our first US visit.
How's that for a tourist attraction?
Yeah. And right at that time, we actually decided to move to Ljubljana. So we moved from a 35 square meter apartment to, I think it was
15 or something.
115 square meter duplex,
Penthouse
fancy
apartment,
penthouse apartment, because all this time while we were living in Maribor working really hard, we were actually earning and saving all this money to actually start living our dreams of a good apartment and a fast car.
Oh yeah.
So the
Finally.
finally. So the first car that we actually bought together was
the blue BMW M3.
E92, right?
E92.
Yeah.
So the story behind us buying the M3 is, again, interesting. So I don't know how this started, but we were like, yeah, we kind of saved enough money to buy a really awesome sports car, and I kind of started asking around because at the time there were no good examples being on sale in Slovenia. So I had to kind of poke people and ask them if they know anyone. And I actually went and checked out one that had a Krapovich exhaust. It sounded ridiculously awesome, obviously, because our current GT3 also has an Krapovich exhaust.
Of course.
Yeah, but then we decided to actually buy a different car. It had a manual gearbox. It was a bit more stock than the first one. And yeah, I think it was like I went and see the car on Monday or I don't know, or Wednesday, and I said to the guy, can I buy the car tomorrow or something like that, or in 2 days? So yeah, I had to go home, call the bank, pick up the cash, and yeah, it was all a bit last minute, but that's how we do it.
I still remember, I think I was at the gym and he called me and he essentially said, we're buying an M3
We need
tomorrow.
to buy this car.
We need to buy this car. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah. And it was like,
we were ready.
yeah, well, I don't know. It was like, I don't know how much it costs, how much the tires are, how much the service is, how much the brakes are. We actually needed to replace the brakes pretty soon after we bought the car. But yeah, it was just a dream come true, and we were so excited and happy when we bought it.
We had a 206 for our daily, and then, actually like a year after we bought the M3, we sold the 206.
We actually bought the Mini Cooper S before we sold the 206, because we had 3 cars for a short period of time.
Okay.
Before we sold the 206.
And then we sold the 206, and we had the M3 and the Pray for Mini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2 blue cars.
2 blue cars, and the Pray for Mini was actually my
It was your first car,
yeah.
Mini Cooper S.
Yeah.
200 plus brake horsepower, first car, perfect.
Yeah. You talked me out of buying the regular Mini, and you said you're not.
I think that was our friend, Miha.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so
we wanted to buy like a regular.
Yeah, we wanted to buy a Mini, and
not,
I was
not
like,
a sports one.
yeah, let's just buy I think it was the Mini 1 or something. And he said, no, that car is crap, just buy the Cooper S, you'll thank me later. And yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Thank you later. So to transition back into our story, when we moved to Ljubljana, I then went to speak at the United States again. So my company was doing a very, very good job at that point. I had a personal assistant. I had lots and lots of clients, all from the United States. I didn't work with Slovenian clients anymore. So then we both actually traveled to another conference, another presentation that I was giving in Philadelphia, and that's where your story again kind of transitioned.
So there was this guy at the conference that I really admired and followed for probably, I don't know, a couple of years before we were at the
Yeah,
conference.
definitely a couple of years.
Yeah, I bought some of his ebooks and yeah, just followed his work. And he recently started a company that was doing email marketing, and I think I saw like a job post on our way to the United States, or maybe like a week or
Was
two
there
before.
even a job post?
Yeah, there
Oh,
was,
okay.
but it was just on their website, I think.
Okay.
Or maybe he tweeted or something.
Okay.
So he was already quite a popular guy, and I could barely find 5 minutes to speak with him because he was constantly busy. And basically what I did is I went up to him, pulled out my iPhone, loaded up the website, and started talking about what sucks in the app and how I would fix it. So one thing led to another, and I wrote him an email, did a sample task for the company, and got hired eventually.
Yeah,
So
and that's the company that you still work for today.
yeah, I think it's gonna be 4 years in August, I think. So definitely a record for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, by a long shot.
Yeah, and at that time, like I mentioned, I was still growing my company and working with international clients, started to write ebooks, do video courses, and I totally forgot to mention what I'm actually doing now.
Right.
So Super Spicy Media is the company that I own, a boutique agency that actually helps multi-million dollar companies develop and launch profitable Facebook advertising campaigns. So I work with Facebook ads. I do Facebook ads, essentially.
Yep.
And then we moved again
Yeah.
into this house that you now see.
Yeah.
Disclaimer. Our life hack that we do is we do not buy real estate property. So we are renting all the houses, the apartments that you see, and that's for one simple reason: we like the freedom.
And that's another reason why we can afford the cars we have, because we don't own any real estate like most people do. And we just made a decision that we're gonna invest more into cars, and it's just more important for us. And we enjoy the cars. We like doing trips in them, doing track days, sharing them with others, with you guys as well.
Yeah.
And that's just where we're at this moment in life.
So speaking of cars, immediately after we moved into this house that you see right here, we had an interesting car journey, which we're going to guide you through very, very quickly. So let's talk about the car story, starting with Bestia, so the race car,
Okay,
which
so
you immediately bought after.
Almost immediately after we moved into this house, there was an opportunity to buy a race car that a friend of ours was selling, and me and a friend of mine kind of got together, started talking, and we decided we're gonna buy another E92 M3, but this one was a race car. It was called Bestia. So we co-owned it with the friend for I think 2 years. Yeah, and it was awesome. It was a great learning experience, and I got more into like driving and track days because of the car. Because previously, even though we had the Mini and the M3, we didn't do any track days.
Yeah, correct.
Just like driving trips.
Yeah.
So while we had the M3, we already started tweaking with the Mini and made it into a Pray for Mini project. So that was one mean fighting machine.
Blue machine.
Track car. Yeah, that was awesome. We have a few onboards on our channel, so check them out. It was like both of the cars were awesome in their own way.
But then we bought another Mini because one Mini wasn't enough. And it was me. I actually always wanted to have a vintage Mini. Like, I love the new ones. Well, not the new ones, but I like the newer versions. Still, like the vintage Mini had my heart, and I had to convince him. If you remember, I had to convince him that we're buying a vintage Mini, and we did. Yeah,
you were sending me a bunch of links with old Minis and saying, yeah, we should buy it, and that's how this happened.
And there's a very interesting story behind this red Mini, but that definitely deserves a separate video
it
that
does.
we are actually planning. So
Yep.
not going to talk further because right after buying the Mini,
But-
at that point, we had actually 4 cars and you still owned the Bestia.
Yeah.
So it was 4.5 cars essentially.
Quick side note / shout out to our friend David, who actually imported the car from Croatia. So
Owned
he
it
had-
for a short period of
for a
time.
short period, and yeah, the car needed some love and some upgrades, and we did that, and it's an absolute beast.
Yes, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Then we got bitten by a Porsche bug.
Yeah. I think we were fans of the Porsche brand for a while, but we didn't
Yeah.
really consider buying it. And but then another friend, geez, we just keep buying cars from our friends. This is
Like
horrible.
if you want to sell your car, just
This is
let's
horrible.
become friends.
Yeah. So our friend was selling the 996.
Shout out to Clement.
Shout out to Clement, and we call it the unlovable because those of you that know the 911 history, the 996 model was kind of the unloved model because it had the fry deck headlights and nobody really liked it, and it was the first water-cooled 911, which meant all the purists went crazy because the old 911s were air-cooled and this one was not. So, but we bought it and we fell in love. Especially you. You fell in love immediately after you first drove it.
I was really skeptical about it, to be honest. But I can't I cannot describe the feeling when I first drove the 996. It was just completely different. I felt it immediately and I fell in love with it like right away. And like I immediately considered it my car.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think before buying the 996, did we sell the M3?
Nope.
No? Pray for me. Before buying the 996, we actually sold the Pray for Mini.
No.
Ne. Pa nisam imela mi 2.5 auto.
Jesmo.
Ne. Ja, ki smo ih pa imela?
Tu smo ga parkirali.
Nisva imela tu vse.
Ja. Prej Farminija smo prodala, zdaj na koncu, ko smo GT3 kupovala. Bumba.
So then, after...
Sorry, Mojca got confused a bit.
with all these cars. So after we bought the 996, a little while after,
Like a year after.
like a year after, for the time being, like we were owning 4 cars plus the race car, and then we actually sold the M3 first,
Yeah.
and that's at the time when we were actually deciding to get the GT3, to buy the
So
GT3.
it was actually, I think, I don't remember how the events went exactly, but I think we were kind of playing around with the idea of getting a GT3, but obviously we didn't have enough money to buy it.
Yeah.
So we got an offer from the previous owner of the M3 and he wanted to buy it back. So we were like, yeah, maybe, but we kind of liked the car, but we heard there was an awesome GT3 on Slovenian plates available for
The purchase.
the purchase. So
Yes.
one thing led to another, and we started like a garage sale.
So we were selling our cars. We sold the M3, we sold the Bestia,
Yeah.
we sold the Pray for Mini,
Yeah.
and we got
The
GT3.
Yeah, that was a long process, but you can check that out in one of our previous.
yeah.
vlogs.
We have a vlog where we describe not describe. We show the process behind
Yeah.
buying the GT3.
The GT3 was another huge milestone for us because it's a ridiculous car and it's such a different level
Yeah.
than the M3 was, even though it only had like 20 horsepower more. But it's a different kind of beast, and it really is a dream come true for us.
So that kind of concludes like the full circle. I promised you a Ferrari by the age of 30.
Yeah,
You changed your mind in between and
Yeah.
decided you don't want to have a Ferrari anymore.
and we did a compromise. We bought a red Porsche.
We bought a red Porsche, so yeah, it was a good compromise, and it happened, I think, a few months
Yeah.
after your 30th birthday. So
close
I
enough,
kept
close enough.
my promise. What's your next wish?
A Zonda.
Fuck. Let's let's do it. So to conclude our journey, some lessons for you from our journey, from our story, if you want.
But don't listen to us.
Don't listen to us. YOLO.
We're
YOLOing through life, but our lesson is to not necessarily work hard, but work smart.
Yeah. Because you also have to enjoy life, because money is something you can always earn more, even if you think that's not true, it is, but you cannot get your time back. So you're only 20 years old once, or 25 or 30, it doesn't matter, but you won't get the time you have now back.
Yeah. And that's how we've lived our lives as well. So like while we do work hard and we do work smart, we still take time off to really enjoy life. And not to say, like, we are at this point right now, like, I love it, but our path wasn't really straight. It wasn't full of successes. We failed as well. But, like, for example, we went broke. You hated your job. I hated my job. You hated a few of your jobs. I failed at Super Spice Media a couple of times. But what actually brought us to this point where we can afford the GT3 and living in a very beautiful house is that even after we failed, we picked ourselves up and we tried once again, and we actually never, ever, ever stopped dreaming.
Yeah.
And we're still dreaming today.
Yeah.
But if you want to learn and see more about what we're dreaming about, you'll just have to follow our journey.
And one thing to note is that the way we live our life is probably a bit different than most people do. And if you want to live your life differently, it's totally fine. If you want to buy a house, if you want to, invest all your money instead of spending it on stupid shit like we do, that's totally fine. But the most important thing is that you enjoy life.
Yeah.
So if driving cars or buying cars makes you happy, then do your best to buy and drive cars.
Yeah.
If investing makes you happy, then invest all your money. If saving your money and under your bed or something, under your mattress makes you happy, then do that. And that's one thing that we must all acknowledge, is that we are our own personalities and we have our own dreams and wishes and plans for the future. And the important thing is you have to follow them and
find your own path.
Find your own path and your own passion. And for us, that passion is cars and Porsche.
Porsche passion.
Porsche passion. Magnus Walker.
Yep.
But you gotta find your own passion and work towards it.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's right.
Is that okay?
You did.
Peace.
Ow. Ow.
This is how our marriage looks like.
By the way, if you've enjoyed this video, let us know in the comments down below if you want us to record similar videos, and if you want to learn more about us and certain topics, just write them down below. But yeah, never stop dreaming.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe, never stop dreaming.
And stay shifted.